Good morning. Good evening. It's 6 o'clock here in the USA in Houston for me. And I want to thank everybody for coming today to watch and talk. And then for those who will watch later, thank you so much. My name is Esmeralda, and I have this little YouTube channel, Reselling with Esme, and I have a special guest today. And I know him from wonderful Facebook group with Dominic, the primetime treasure hunter, and his name is Steward. He goes by Franklin Hill Ventures. So help me welcome him in.
Thanks. Thanks for
Hi.
having me. Looking forward to it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's a Tuesday, and I know I had to work from the home today, so I didn't have to rush home during traffic. What were you doing today?
Well, let's see. What all did I do today? I made it to the thrift shop for a little bit. I had to pick my daughter up at the airport. She flew in from Houston, so out in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Her and her fiance flew in today, and they'll be with us until Saturday. We're excited because we're going to have all four of our kids home, which doesn't happen but usually once a year. So this year it happens to be Thanksgiving, so we're very excited about that.
Uh-huh. Nice. And so you went to the thrift. Do you mean your thrift store? Because I understand you even have some
No,
storage.
no. I mean, I have antique booths, but no, I have one particular thrift store I go to most every day of the week, and it's as much I buy stuff there, but it's really one of my social outlets. I mean, everybody knows me there. It's kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
that thrift shop's my cheers. I mean, I'm like
Oh, they
so when
say
I walk in,
they say
everybody's like
more.
Stewart. So
Hey, we have Yvonne and we have Vala Milk. Hello, y'all. And we have Teresa
hey, everyone.
and Janae. I'm just saying hello to everybody. Thank you for showing up. I don't know if y'all know my special guest today. His name is Steward, and he's part of the Primetime family. And that's how I knew about him. And then, hi, Lori, Singing Mermaid. She's part of Dom's group. And so we have Franklin Hill Ventures. Remember how Dominic always says, "Oh, I'm calling you Franklin and you're Stewart." So that is so funny. I crack up every time. Hi, Christy. So tell us, how'd you come up with your name? It's part of your YouTube, your stores. What made you come up with that?
Well, so when we moved to Knoxville, I grew up in Knoxville, but then lived in Nashville for a long time. And when we moved back to Knoxville, I guess 16 years ago, when you upload pictures to say Facebook and it tags a location automatically, it would always put Franklin Hill on our photographs. And I mean, I grew up in Knoxville and I'd never heard of Franklin Hill, but come to find out, it's actually across the interstate from us. But when we were looking for a business name, we just liked the Franklin Hill and Tag Ventures on the end. And that's how we came up with the name. And now, half the world calls me Franklin.
I know, it's so hard. I even wrote it on a Post-it.
Hey, that's fine. I answer to lots of things, so Franklin's fine or Stewart, but
so you say you have a business or two? What is it?
yeah. So I mean, I've been doing full-time reselling now for just a little over a year. I mean, I did,
Only a
part-time.
year?
Yeah, since a year ago September. So that's when I left my last, quote real job. I was working at a hospital at that time, and I was working in Chattanooga, living in Knoxville. So it's like an hour and 40-minute drive both ways. And so I knew I had to do something different, and had just built the business to a point where I thought I could give it a try. And so far so good. But I mean, I sell on quite a few online marketplaces, all the usual suspects, eBay, Etsy, Mercari, Poshmark, Depop, and Facebook Marketplace. Then I recently started selling on Whatnot. And then I also have 3 antique booth locations here in the Knoxville area. So,
wow.
Yeah,
Lynn says she wants to go over there.
Awesome. Come to Tennessee. It's East Tennessee's God's country. It's awesome here. So if you like lakes and mountains, Tennessee's great. So specifically East Tennessee.
That's nice. That's nice. And does your wife help you full time too, or does she do
She
something else?
does help. Now she has a full-time job, and I mean, I have to give a big shout out to her because I mean she's really a big reason why I'm able to do this, full time, because she has the insurance, um, we hope to grow to the point where she could come on and do this with me full time, because she is a big, she does a lot with the business. And we both went to the Boss Reseller Remix in Vegas together. So I went
Oh
last year by
wow.
myself, and then she went with me this year, and we were actually on the reseller or the seller community podcast together. So she was on the podcast with me, and so yeah, she's a big part of the business, and I could not do what I do without her. So
That's great. I know recently my husband has been like saying more things, talking about reselling, and I'm excited because one day both of us will retire from our full-time jobs and we'll be like you all.
well, it's great to have a supportive spouse when you're doing this, and it would probably be overstating it to say that Amy was excited when I told her I was thinking about leaving my real job, but
Uh-oh.
she was supportive. So, um, and I think, I mean, she said it in the podcast that we were on, that she was surprised how fast that things have grown over the past year. I mean, we've been doing it a long time. I mean, I've had the Franklin Hill Ventures business since 2014 when we came up with the name. So I mean, and then I was reselling before that, but that's when I really got serious about it, was 2014. So
And even though I invited you here because we are the Suckers for Glass live stream, you do like glass, but you say that your wife calls you an expert in China.
yeah, so I mean, I am by no means like, I did not like collect glassware per se before I started reselling. I mean, like anybody, I mean, I'm a sucker for a nice piece of colorful glass, but um, I mean, and I sell a ton of glassware, especially out of my booths. I mean, sell a lot of Fenton and, other brands, or, other makers of glass. Sell a little bit online, but really my online uh, niche is probably China, flatware. I mean, and then just general collectibles. If we were on my phone and I could show you on my inventory shelves over here to my right, I mean,
Mhm.
I have 850 so items online right now, and a lot of that is China. And yeah, and Amy calls me either the China King of Knoxville, or sometimes she'll call me Replacements West. So,
That's good.
but yeah, I mean, I do really well with China, and I love China. All the different patterns fascinate me, and the different makers, and just the research you have to do to figure out what you have. Um, and the good thing with China, I mean, it's probably kind of like glassware. I mean, everybody knows, like in the market today, something that was worth $100, 20 years ago, prior to the internet and eBay, may only be worth half that now. And China's kind of the same way,
Mhm.
but it's all
I'm
relative.
afraid to get China because how do I know I'm not getting just a piece from Walmart versus China?
Well, usually based on either markings on the back, or just, I mean, I sell a ton of Linux, a ton of Noritake, um, anything that's like Limoges type makers. But, now like replacements is a great, speaking of replacements, I mean, it's a great resource. Now, when you go to buy China from people, they've looked on replacements and think their China's worth X amount, and I always tell them, you can generally sell China for about a quarter of what you see it on replacement,
Oh.
and then I'm going to pay, 40% or so of that price. But
Mhm.
replacements is a great resource for looking at patterns
Okay.
um, and
Replacements.
things of that nature.
So
But
show us
yeah,
some of your stuff. Show us some China. Educate us.
well, in addition to China, like one of my favorite items are, like, everybody's probably seen these, like the state plates.
Ooh.
I mean, I pick these up all the time at thrift
Uh-huh.
shops, yard sales, and you can usually find them for anywhere between 50 cents to $1 or two a piece. And I can generally sell these for like $10 to $12 on one of the online platforms that I sell on. But
Uh-huh.
I love stuff like this because I mean, they're usually from the 40s and 50s, sometimes the
Oh.
60s. And, they always have points of interest about each state on there. And I just think they're
Uh-huh.
cool. You can actually learn about a lot about the states and, what kind of places people were
That's
visiting,
true. And does
back
it
in
have
the
something
day.
on the back, or how do you know that's a good one?
Well, I mean, really, like any of this design, there's a good chance this is probably like Homer Laughlin, even though this one's not marked. But a lot of times, like this particular design with the gold trim and this kind of style of plates. Yeah, and Teresa, I mean, if you just look at the comps, like I said, it's more of a volume game with these. And also, I sell them because I like them. Yeah, here's another unmarked one, but, same one. That's Missouri. I can usually get $10 to $12 plus shipping a piece for them, and I'll usually try to spend no more than $1 a piece. Usually, if I
Okay.
buy in bulk, I'm getting them for more like quarter to 50 cents each.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, like here's one that's marked, and Homer Laughlin was like a big maker of these particular plates back in the 50s.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, and I saw a lot of Homer Laughlin china too. Um, but you know, like here's a piece of Linux china, I believe. So this is
Oh, I thought you were gonna drop the bowl. I didn't know it
no,
was stuck.
no, a nice gravy boat. So I mean, I've sold just this week. I mean, I've probably shipped out 10 to 12 boxes of
For
china.
Thanksgiving, huh?
Yeah, people getting ready for Thanksgiving, and um, I mean, and if you find the right china, I actually bought just like a whole box of stuff that an estate sale the other day. It was just like a lot of little small plates and
Uh-huh.
little small pieces of glassware, just knickknacks. But there happened to be these two pieces of china in there, and it was a little bitty fruit bowl and then a coffee cup. It didn't have a sauce or anything. And in doing some research on that china, it was from like the 1840s, and I think I paid $5 for the whole box, and there were probably 100 items in the box. And
Oh, wow.
I ended up putting those on an auction on eBay, and they ended up selling for like $147. Which I mean,
Woohoo!
I had no idea they would go for that much, but yeah, they were a really really cool pattern. But that's kind of what I sell online is knickknacks, china, as it relates to glassware. I mean, I also sell a lot of books online, and then just kind of looking around my office. Yeah, just a little bit of everything, and then most of the bigger items and like nice glassware I'll sell out of one of my antique booths. So
Mm. I see lots of China, just don't want to ship it.
yeah,
So
and
what are your tips?
I mean it really just the best rule of thumb is especially if it's just like a single plate or a single item, that's pretty easy. I mean,
Yeah.
like I I use a lot of packing peanuts, which I know a lot of people don't like them, but when you're shipping China,
Okay,
that
the
really is
cushion.
the one thing that doesn't let things move around. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
want to use air pockets because they pop or they let stuff move around. Sometimes I'll use like the brown packing paper to also stuff, but it's heavier. But if you're looking for like packing materials, like there's a tile store here in Knoxville. I just put something on Facebook one time. Hey, looking for packing peanuts, and this tile store reached out to me. And now they call me, once a week to come get bags and bags of
Oh,
packing
how
peanuts and
nice.
cotton stuff in. Um,
So where do
so
you list most of your books is a question that Janae has.
most of my books are listed. Well, I mean, I cross post pretty much everything I list to 6 different platforms. So,
It's
my
gonna sell
books all
somewhere.
go on eBay, Etsy, Macari, Poshmark, then Facebook Marketplace, and Depop. Um, so, and I have just to my left over here, I mean, I have a huge bookshelf that's got, just tons of the books that I have listed right now. And, books are another thing. I do really well with finding books for inexpensive, and then most of them are only going to sell for anywhere between $8 to $15, $16. But you can ship them medium mail, and they're easy to pack. So a lot of my online stuff, especially, is more of a volume game. I sell a ton of stuff in, say, the $12 to $40 range, and then I do sell things that end up being $50 to $100 or more dollars as well. But my online sales tend to be lower than my nicer, bigger sales are out of my antique booth.
My cat wants to get up here.
Come on.
One of my 4 cats. Come on. Oh, now I try to go get her and she goes away. So show us something else.
Let's see. Well, let me run over here and grab a few things here. Just show you some of the things.
Yes. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. She's on my lap now. Oh, my baby.
Yes, I mean, these are representative. I mean, I'm not sure what, actually, I probably picked out a bad example because these don't have any markings on the back. But this was, I think I had a stack of about 20 of these, and I'm down to 4 now. But it's
you sell them one at a time or in pairs or what?
Most things I'll list in pairs. It depends.
Okay.
Like dinner plates, I usually list singles. Other things I'll list pairs. It's just, it really just depends on the item. Then trying to look and see what other, and then I do sell like more, like hand blown glass. Just, that's
nice.
No idea who made it, but just a piece of cranberry glass.
Yeah.
Little like.
Oh, this isn't watermelon. This is whiskers. One of my friends.
I've got shelves and shelves and shelves of stuff back here. Yeah, here's some Haviland china. So yeah, let me share my screen and pull up a picture of the antique booth, if that's okay. And then
Lori says she bought a Blenko picture from you. Oh wow.
Oh yeah, I think was that online? Was that on one of the online marketplaces, or was that on Whatnot? I can't remember now.
Or maybe through Dominic's group. You know how he has a every now and then he would do those resellers help each other out and buy stuff. So on Whatnot. She said she bought it from you on Whatnot.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. So yeah, so can everybody see my screen now?
Let me add it to the stream. I don't know if there. What do you sell fast in glass? Yvonne wants to know.
Well, in the booth, like anything Fenton will sell like immediately as soon as I put it out there. Usually, like swung vases are really big right now. If I put a swung vase out at the booth, it'll be gone within a day or two, typically.
Wow.
Yeah. So this, can you see my screen now, Esme?
I can.
Okay, so I'm sure everybody can. So this is one of my booths. This is at Bearden Antique Mall in Knoxville, and I sell a ton of artwork out of this booth, but I do sell quite a bit of glassware as well. You can see some china platters in the background. I've been doing really well with milk glass here recently. I'm not sure if it's making a comeback or not, but have been selling quite a bit of milk glass, and then figurines and things of that nature.
It's a huge booth.
And then this is my one at Granny's Attic in Clinton, Tennessee. And if you're ever in the Knoxville area, make sure you go to Clinton. It's considered a top 10 antiquing destination in most anything you read. And there's like 20 to 30 antique stores all within walking distance. You can just park your car and go to
my gosh, I'd go broke.
And there's 2 big festivals every year, a spring and a fall festival. And it's crazy how many people come to those. But yeah, this is this is probably where I sell the most glassware, just because Clinton's a lot more tourist traffic, so I don't sell as much furniture and
Oh
bigger
yeah,
items
people can't
there.
take it with them, furniture, as
So
much as they can a small
yeah,
item.
they're wanting something they can package up and just put in the car and take home with them. So I do sell a lot of dripware there. As you can see, I've got it right up front. But this really don't have the best picture. All the to the right, those green shelves uh, with the glass shelves, that's where almost all the glassware is. And I mean, it's like 3 shelves just loaded down with glassware. And then finally, this is my newest booth. This is West End Antiques in Knoxville, and just a little bit of everything in there as well. A lot of glassware, but I also sell a lot of books out of that one, as well as artwork. So, um,
Oh.
so anyway,
And where do you get your stuff? Like,
so so probably the like I did have, and I'm sure everybody's experienced this. I had to kind of update, and my sourcing models post COVID versus pre COVID. So, like, if you go back to pre COVID, I probably got over half my stuff at in person auctions. I mean, there were like 3 or 4 different auctions in the Knoxville area that I would go to every week.
uh-huh.
And, you're only competing against the 100 people in the room. And because they were all just live in person auctions, no online component to them. And that's where I would get so much of my stuff. And
Wow.
I could get whole china sets for you'd get 12 place setting china sets for like $75, of really nice Linux china and stuff. So and then post COVID, unfortunately, most of those went away, because what all these auction houses discovered during COVID is that they were forced to go online. And then once you go online, your overhead goes down, because you don't have to have an auctioneer. You don't have to have runners. And then plus your audience is now the whole world versus the 100 people in the room. And very few of the auction houses here
Went back.
went back to in person. So I still get, so I would say now, like, my biggest sourcing channels are, I mean, still auctions to an extent, but they're online, so I don't get near as much, and I don't get as much value. I mean, you're paying more, so you're just getting lower margins off that stuff. I still go to a lot of estate sales, yard sales when they're in season, and I still hit the thrift shops. And, the good thing is I go to enough of the thrift shops, and I always tell people, I mean, when you're in reselling, relationships are key. I mean,
Oh yes.
you meet, and I always tell people, don't shy away from the fact you're a reseller. Yeah, I mean, out of 10 people, you might run into one who's going to, not sell you something or look down on you because you're going to resell it. But most people want to get rid of stuff. And like, anytime I go to yard sales, I mean, I'm handing out my business card like candy. And I know everybody by name at all the thrift shops I go to, and, make sure to call everybody by name. I mean, and now when I go in, a lot of times they'll have held something back and bring it out when I come in.
Oh, how sweet.
Just because, just I built that relationship.
Right.
And then probably one of the biggest ways I source now is just people calling me. I've been doing it long enough. And then having the antique booths, there's one of my antique malls where I am that I work like 2 or 3 Saturdays a week behind the cash register. So, you're constantly meeting people who come in, who are looking to sell stuff, or, they, ask, does anybody here buy glassware? And I always give people my card, and I get at least one call a week now, usually, of somebody who's either got, a few things to sell all the way up to, can you come look at my whole house?
Wow.
They don't necessarily want to go through an estate sale, the hassle of that. And, I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from somebody who, they were having to get their parents out of a house real quick, and ended up getting a ton of stuff, and basically got 32 banker boxes full of books for free just for hauling them off. And now out of those 32, probably 28 of them went straight to the thrift shop. But, it's the, I did find quite a bit that, was resellable and all that too. So,
Awesome.
a lot of hard work to move all that stuff, but in the end, and you just treat people the right way, and then that leads to more people calling you. But yeah, you have to get creative though, just because everybody knows thrift shops have gotten more expensive, online auctions have gone away, and it's just sourcing's harder now than it was pre-COVID.
Huh. Very good information. Thank you.
Yeah, and let me catch up with the chat here.
There was a couple of questions like what do you find in Knoxville so easily that might be harder to find somewhere else?
Well, I mean, the good thing about I can't think of a specific thing that you might find here necessarily. Although, I mean, I will say, like, when you go to estate sales or when I end up at somebody's house, you do get a lot of like folk art type of stuff just because of our proximity to the mountains here. So, a lot of primitives and things of that nature you can find. But in general, I think Knoxville, just being a smaller town, relative to, say, Nashville or Atlanta or Charlotte, I think there's just fewer people. I mean, there's a lot of people obviously reselling here in Knoxville, but, just prices are probably not as high as they would be if you were in a bigger city. And then I saw somebody else. Yeah, do I sell jewelry? Not to any great extent. I mean, sometimes, like if I'm cleaning a house out, or I just get a box of stuff, there might be jewelry in there. I'm trying to think if I'll tell you, my biggest jewelry win ever was, and this is the blind squirrel finding a nut type of thing. It was just a box of stuff, and it had just a whole mix of stuff in it, and there was this one brooch in it that was it was called, I mean, it happened to have a name on the back, so I googled the name and I don't even remember what it was now. But it was a mechanical brooch, which I'd never heard of that, but it was a rose. It was like a flower, and when you move the lever, the petals would open or close. And it was called a mechanical brooch, and they also called it a day and night brooch because I guess you would wear the petals open
in the day with the sun,
and then closed at night. And this was, it's just a piece of costume jewelry, not any kind of silver or gold or anything. But I found a couple of examples where I wished I could remember the name of the company. But in any case, I put it on eBay at $600 and ended up taking an offer for like $540 or something. So that was probably the best piece of jewelry I've ever sold. And, and I know nothing about jewelry.
But you know how to research.
Yeah, and that's the good thing. You don't have to really be an expert in any one thing anymore because if you can Google, you can find about anything. And Janae, yes, I am using List Perfectly to cross post, and I mean, just I guess the quick plug for List Perfectly. I mean, it changed my reselling life, and I know there's other programs out there that do it. Regardless of what program you're using to help you cross list, I would greatly encourage people to cross post. I mean, probably the biggest, I guess, questions when people talk to me about cross post, they're worried about like things selling on multiple platforms. I've got 850 items cross posted. I've been doing it now for over 2 years, I think, or right at 2 years. I think I've had 2 times in all the things I've ever sold where they sold on more than one platform. And both those were like things that sold like almost immediately when I listed them. And I just, you just have to take the hit in that case and move on. I mean, you just pick which platform's going to ding you the least and move on. But I have not found it's a big issue. When I first started cross posting, my fear was always, somebody's going to go to both eBay and Etsy and see I have it listed maybe with slightly different prices, because a lot of times I'll list things on Etsy a little higher just because their fees are, got to pay 20 cents to list and all that. But for the most part, I've learned that people who shop on eBay, shop on eBay. People who shop on Etsy, shop on Etsy. And they don't really do a lot of marketplace hopping around. So.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll keep that in mind, finds of yesterday. If I come across jewelry, I'll reach out.
Lynn sells jewelry. She buys jewelry. She dreams. She eats. I mean, she's always having a jewelry. And Jennifer, too. So y'all are going to have to duke it out to get his jewelry.
Well, I'm definitely chatting. I'm definitely jotting your names down because, I'm always looking for resources too, because I know, I literally know nothing about jewelry. Yeah. And as far as, I try to list every day. I try to list, at least 2 to 3 things every day. That's like a minimum so I've got something going out there.
Uh-huh.
And my listing process is I list into the List Perfectly catalog first. You can take List Perfectly. I can take pictures with my phone and put those straight into the catalog, and then then I can refresh my computer and all those things are there. Then I just finish putting all the details in the catalog. Then I push them out to the marketplaces. Yeah, and I haven't found it a huge enough problem to cross list, to sell on multiple platforms when cross listing. Like I said, it's happened 2 times you know, in 2 years across, thousands of items I've sold. So I would rather just take the risk of, having it sell on one of those platforms rather than choosing, to list it only in one place a week. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to do what they feel's right for them. And,
Comfortable.
uh,
Mhm.
and I think the most important thing is whether you sell on one platform or multiple platforms, whether you cross list or just keep things separate. I think it's just to be consistent and list something every day. Just, develop that habit, make it like brushing your teeth. You just know you're going to list at least one thing every day, or, whatever your number is you set for yourself.
Mm. Show us some more China. We want to learn about China.
Okay, let me grab some things here.
Okie dokie. I had a Linux vase and I put it on Macari, and I think I started at like 30 and then 25 and then 20. And I think I finally sold it at 10. Nobody wanted it. It was a beautiful vase. It was tall. It had gold gilding, whatever. What did I do wrong?
I don't know. I will say most China's like long tail type items. I just have enough listed that I'm selling usually at least some China every day. But it might be stuff I've had listed for a long time. I have learned that. And it's not always how old the piece is or how rare the piece is. Really, it's how popular was that pattern, because the reality today is most people are not buying whole sets of China. That's why, I very rarely will list, I won't usually put a whole set of China in my booth. I won't usually list a whole set of China. I'm piecing everything out because what people are looking to do, they've inherited this China from their mom or their grandmother or whoever. They break a piece or they're missing a piece. So they're looking to fill in holes, or increase the number they've got. So I piece everything out and, have just built up enough of an inventory that, usually I'm selling, quite a bit every week. Now my wife likes the fact I sell China because at holidays she can come down and, she'll come down, like, especially if I've like the Johnson Brothers, like turkey patterns or something like that,
Uh-huh.
we might use that at Thanksgiving, uh, but yeah,
Like,
I sell a lot of serving bowls. Like this is a Pope
oh, hold on,
Goster.
hold on. Let me put you
Uh,
solo.
yeah, this is just this is a maker called Pope Goster. They're a USA China company, probably from the 40s, 50s. This is a bluebell pattern.
That's pretty.
This one is, I can't remember how you pronounce this. It's like Hutchin
How
rather.
much would that sell for?
I'm not sure what I have this one listed, but probably just somewhere like, I'd say somewhere between $12 and $16 is what I have it listed
Okay.
for. And then this is a piece from Germany.
Oh.
Yeah, and Janae, if I was on my phone, I could actually like walk around, but yeah, and hold on, here's one more. This is just you see a lot of these like Victorian type scenes.
Pretty.
This is from.
Yeah.
And then let me make sure I put this back in. Speaking of inventory process, so let me get this back in the right bin. So,
Yeah, sorry, we don't want to ruin your process here.
well, I mean, I would find it, but yeah. So my inventory process. So my storage system is I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 of the, like the cube systems you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's. They're like 12 by 12 cubes, and like
Yes.
each shelf has 9 little cubbies in it. So I have 8 of those. So whatever 8 times 9, however many, 72 different cubbies. Then I have all those labeled with inventory or bin numbers. So just like A1,
Oh,
A2, B1 through whatever. And then I use like the custom SKU area in eBay or will list perfectly as a custom SKU, and I just keep where it's located in that. And so then when I sell something, it's really easy to know where it is. And then I have some like bookshelves for like bigger items that won't fit in a 12 by 12 cube. And then like a couple of big wire racks that have a couple of feet, so you can get really big items on those. But yeah, when I sell something, I can just look at the custom SKU and go, go pull it out. And also, I have a spreadsheet that I use to track all my inventory and sales and stuff. And I've also got that custom SKU in there. So, I mean,
cool.
and I really started doing that. My wife helped me set that up because, like, prior to me doing that, however many, 4 or 5 years ago, I used to travel a lot with one of my jobs. And, that's when I'd always sell the most when I was out of town. And, Amy would be calling me, where's this? And, I'd be trying, I mean, I knew exactly where it was, but I would be trying to explain to her where to go look. And, she said, we've got to come up with a better method. So,
All right.
we designed this.
Yeah, because now that you've grown to full time, you can continue to expand. Like, are you in your basement or is that like your bedroom? What room are you in right now?
I'm in my basement right now. So whenever we moved in, we just had this office built. So, it's a pretty good size office, and I have most of my inventory in here.
Cool.
Now, like all my, money piles, death piles, whatever different people call it, most of that's in the garage. And I still have, it seems like here in the last 2 months, we've had so many people calling us to come look and get stuff that, I mean, I hate to ever turn that down because, you never know when you're going to need inventory for a rainy day, but I have
Yeah.
so much stuff to go through right now. And,
Woo!
we have a lot of furniture out in the garage right now that we have to get, cleaned up and out to one of the booths. So,
Oh, do you also do Facebook Marketplace for furniture?
I do. I mean, we do. I do. Some Facebook market. Actually, Amy does more of our Facebook Marketplace stuff. But yeah, we've sold furniture. In fact, we sold one of the cool. I thought one of the cooler sales we made is we had it was an old like folding bed from the 1800s and put it on Facebook Marketplace, and a local theater company bought it to use in the Diary of Anne Frank production. So it was like the
Oh,
bed that was front and center in the play. It was Anne Frank's bed. So
what an honor.
we thought that was cool. And I think it's cool anytime you sell something to a TV show or, I mean, I've sold a handful of things to different, like production companies and TV shows and things of that nature. So, yeah, so booth fees here. So you pay price per square foot probably averages about anywhere between $1.50 and $2 a square foot. And, most of your booths, like your standard booth size, like 2 of my locations, standard booth size like 10 by 12. Then like at Granny's Attic in Clinton, the booth size are like 8 by 10 or 8 by 12, but I have 4 booths there. Like at Granny's, when you walk in the front door, I mean, like I have all the space, like right when you first walk in.
Nice.
And then all the booths where I am, it's also then like 10% commission on top of, your
I was
rent.
wondering about that. You also
So,
have to.
you've got to make your rent first.
Uh-huh.
Then after that, then you've got the 10% commission on everything that you're selling throughout the month as well. I mean, they've worked really well for me. I tend to run, anywhere between a 30 to 40% margin in the booth, which is comparable to what I run in online. After I take out cost of goods sold, rent, commission, insurance, everything else, it's anywhere between a 30 to 40% margin on any given month. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I found booths are really addictive. I mean, we started out, our first booth was in Clinton at Granny's Attic, and I got into that. One of the auctions I went to, this lady just came up to me out of the blue after the auction one night and said, "Hey, I see the kind of stuff you buy. I think you would do really well where I have a booth at this place in Clinton." So we went out there the next weekend, and by the next weekend we had a half a booth is all that was available at the time. So it's this, almost when you had to turn sideways kind of to get into the booth. So we had that for like a month or two, and then it just happened. The other half of a booth that we shared with, they left, so we got a full booth. And then over time, we went from that one booth to two booths there, and then finally the 4 booths we have now are right at the front of the store. But I will mention, if anybody's thinking of getting a booth, the biggest tips I give people are, the number one tip is just working your booth. Even if you're not taking new stuff out there, if you just move, a lot of times, if you just move this from here to here, it'll sell.
Wow.
I've literally had, things that have been sitting in my booth for 6 months, and I move it to a different shelf and it sells the next day.
Look at that.
And obviously you want to be taking new stuff. I try to get to my booths at least once a week, if not twice a week. And then just, if they offer an opportunity to work, I'm a working dealer at the one place, and, not only do you get to meet people and potentially get sourcing opportunities, but you're also kind of getting an idea of what might be selling at any particular time. But, we didn't scout for our first booth. We just went there because the lady, told us that
invited you.
And we'd never done it before, but it sounded like fun. And, but like the other two, we did look around a little bit and tried to find, we knew we had artwork and furniture to sell. Where did we need to be to sell those items particularly? And like our other 2 booths in Knoxville are kind of more in one's in like an old money section in Knoxville, so you get a lot of interior designers and stuff coming in looking to decorate houses. And then the other one's right next to the mall, like one of the big malls in Knoxville. So you just get a lot of retail traffic through there.
So location.
Yeah, in location, both of the mall, then your location within the mall too. So, like one of our places, we were on the center aisle to start with because that's all that was available, and we did okay. But I told the manager, I said, "Hey, I'd like to get on a waiting list if any booths on the outside come open." And we moved to like one just like right behind the cash register, and our sales tripled just by doing that move. So
wow. What about Whatnot? How long ago did you start selling there?
We started in April, and I've done okay. It is what it is as far as, it's definitely a platform to move merchandise quickly, but you're not going to get, in most cases, you're not going to get near what you would get selling it
online.
Yeah. It's kind of like this, the fast nickel versus the slow dime analogy. And
yeah,
so especially like hard goods, I've had quite a few antique hard goods shows, and I usually sell quite a bit. I'll sell anywhere between 20 to 40 items in a couple of hours, but you're just not getting what you would get in other online marketplaces or my booths. But
the quickness of showing the items and it gets sold. So that's
yeah. And what I've learned on Whatnot, I am more like when I first started, I was real bad about starting stuff too low. But
I'm trying to get customers to like me, so
the good thing is, there's no cost associated with selling on Whatnot. You have your fees, but if you don't sell an item, you're not paying anything. So, I've gotten better about starting things at the absolute, or at the minimum I want to take for something.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found like hard goods are really tough. I mean, you've got a few real sellers who seem to really attract big audiences with hard goods, and they have really good quality stuff too. Like My Flipping Van Life. I mean, her shows are amazing, and I don't know if you've ever watched her shows, but she gets top dollar for the stuff she sells. Now she's selling a lot of high end Fenton and other stuff, and she'll have 130 people in her shows. If I usually have somewhere between 20 to 35 people in my shows. So
hey, that's great.
But I have found like certain things, like I do quite a bit of ephemera paper goods on Whatnot, and there does seem to be a bigger like true buyer audience for ephemera versus it seems to be more reselling. Yeah, I mean I source a lot on Whatnot as well. I mean but the ephemera, I've done really well with that, and had my first book sale a couple of weeks ago, and it went pretty well. I mean, I sold books for roughly not a lot less than I would have sold in other venues. So, but yeah,
So Glenn
Whatnot.
wants to know, best-selling China brands to sell.
I mean, it's funny. I mean, I'll sell. Like this week, I've sold a lot of brands that probably nobody's ever heard of, but just like consistently, the brands that sell the most are Noritake sells really well. Linux sells pretty well. I mean, any of the Limoges stuff will sell pretty well. But it really just, I mean, there's so many brands of China. Oh, like Blue Ridge Pottery type patterns sell really well.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, they're like they were North Carolina, and it's a lot of hand painted plates and things of that nature. And like they have a Christmas one that like sells really, if you put it out there, it'll sell immediately. But I found serving pieces sell really well because that's a lot of times what people are looking for. And then flatware is very similar to China. I do exactly the same thing with flatware that I do with China. I mean, you can get full sets of flatware for, I'll find them for $75, $80 for 12 place settings. Then I'll piece those out either usually like in sets of 4 or sets of 2. And I sell a ton of flatware that way. So
I'm shy of flatware. I don't want to pick it up, but I'll probably pick up, cheesy one.
The only bad thing with flatware is, I've cleaned a lot of flatware in my life, a lot of silver polish. So, yeah, and there's a lot of nice pottery pieces here in the Tennessee area, North Carolina area. I mean, you have like Pigeon Forge pottery. There's a lot of really pretty pieces from there. Just a lot of North Carolina pottery is really nice too. And plush is something I've never done too much with. I did sell a Scooby-Doo plush in one of my booths the other day. It was like a Halloween Scooby-Doo.
Oh, nice. Hey, it's Harry Humstone. He's the one I stole the idea of for the show about being suckers for glass. So Steward here has a bunch of knowledge because he's been doing it part-time, but now he's doing it full-time, and he has booths and he sells on many platforms thanks to, what's it called again?
List Perfectly.
List Perfectly.
Yeah, and like my latest thing that I've started selling are these like private label jams and jellies, and they've taken off. I mean, we probably have 40 different varieties, and we have them made for us in Amish country, and we sell them out of our booths. And the most surprising thing, I gave away a jar on Whatnot one night, and then I had like all these requests to add them to my store, and now we like sell so much of that stuff through Whatnot, like in the buy it now section, and which surprised me because the shipping's really expensive, like through Whatnot. And I'll always put, like, if somebody buys it through Whatnot, I'll put a little note in the box, hey, if you want more of this, just reach out to me directly because I can do the shipping cheaper. And but like just this week, my wife sold like 75 jars of this stuff in her office. Great
Whoa.
for gifts and things, but it's all
Oh,
my
yeah.
challenge is not to eat all my profits because they're all so good.
I've wondered about that. The cost of something like this perfectly. Is it a monthly or up to
Yeah,
so
it's
many
a
items?
monthly, and I have, I mean, whenever I do something, I'm one of these like go all in kind of people. So, I jump straight into the pro plan, which is, I think it's
Oh,
$69 a month, which seems like a lot, but, you know, any of those kind of tools, I mean, if you just sell, that's really not that many sales. And I mean, and my sales increased exponentially once I started cross posting. So yeah, it's just another cost of doing business in my, in my eyes anyway. So,
mm-hmm. Neat. Do you have any glass to show us?
um, that's what I was looking. Most of my like true glass is, out at the booth.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I don't, I mean, mostly China and, I mean, I like a lot of pottery in here.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Show us pottery. I once found a Limoges vase, and it was at an estate sale where everything was the last day, everything was $1, and it sold. I think I sold it for like $40 profit. It's Crystal, Rosie's Closet.
and I mean, but like I love like this is kind of like the little state plates. I mean, this is like a little Opryland, Nashville,
Oh, cool.
souvenir picture.
Yeah.
Um, Probably made in Japan, but I like this just because I lived in Nashville for a long time and we had season passes to Opryland. So, I love knickknacks like this, and I try to, I sell a lot of stuff that I love. I mean, and like I don't collect much of anything anymore, other than you can see, like I collect a lot of Beach Boys stuff, but uh, for the most part now, I'm just happy to have owned something for a little while and have pictures.
Yeah.
Um, oh, here's a little cool inkwell that is a piece of glass. It's
Ooh.
it's missing the insert, which I wish I had that, but it's like a nice little Art Deco piece of
Okay.
glassware. I picked that up at a yard sale the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And Harry, I have 3 booth locations, which I've got 4 booths at one location and then one each at the other 2. Um, Trying to see what like little cool pieces of glassware that I have. See, and I mean, you'll notice I have so much like souvenir stuff because it's just I find it fascinating. All the like this vintage Panama City beach thermometer
Oh, wow.
stuff's like that's cool, and it was a made in Japan item. And
Uh-huh.
none of it's real high dollar, but as I mentioned, a lot of my online stuff, I'm kind of in that $12 to $30 range, and doing a lot more volume than huge profit item pieces. And
Volume.
then, and I try to like I sold the china I sold last week for 140. I try to mix those kind of bigger sales in. And I've sold quite a few books that are like in the 20 to 40, $50 range as well. So, but yeah, I mean, like most of my like big sales are always through my booths, furniture and artwork. I sell a ton of artwork out of the booths, and it's nice. You can always pick up artwork very inexpensively at thrift shops or yard sales. And a lot of times it'll be things like original oil paintings and,
Oh,
you
wow.
can get a couple $100 for pretty easily.
Woo. And then how do you ship a painting?
Well, most of that I'm selling out of the booth.
Out
I
of the
mean,
booth.
I
Okay.
actually have shipped some pretty big pieces of artwork, and you just find a big enough box and a lot of bubble wrap and packing peanuts or whatever, and
Secure the corners.
yep. So, I mean, there's not much I won't try to ship. I've shipped some pretty big things, but
So any more questions? Because we're not going to have another China expert with us for a while, I'm sure.
yeah, I mean, and if anybody ever has any questions, or just feel free to reach out. I mean, it's just Stewart at franklinhillventures.com is my email address. So,
and you're on Instagram.
yeah, or you can find me on Instagram. If you go to the www.franklinhillventures.com, that's back there, it's got links to all my different social media platforms and all the other places. I mean, all the marketplaces I sell on. So, I mean, I do technically have a YouTube channel, but I don't do near as much with it. I mean, I always have like really, good intentions and to do more with it, but I just find I don't have the time. And I mean, and I'm not overly creative, like when it comes to creating content and stuff like that. So,
but you have a lot of knowledge, and that should be documented, let's say.
yeah, I mean, and I have made some videos, about different things and, how to do this or how to do that. And I think my most watched video ever was about me smoking meat, though. So I do a lot of smoking. So, I've gotten more where like most of the videos now that I do are shorts. Like I'll do booth walkthroughs.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And post those, or like sometime I'll do whatnot preview shows where they're more just like slideshows of items set to music, and then I'll post those as shorts on Instagram or reels on Instagram, shorts on YouTube.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, finds of yesterday. I know that's and I found even to make like when I was like attempting to do some YouTube videos, I mean, even to make a little simple without much editing, it would still take quite a bit of time just to do the little bit of editing I was doing. And I don't know, I don't know that I'm ever going to be like somebody's going to monetize my channel to make a ton of money. So really, I've just got, you've only got so many hours in the day, and
that's right.
I just choose to spend mine, listing, sourcing, and things like that, rather than spending a lot of time editing videos. And there is actually a Franklin, Tennessee, but that's next to Nashville. I'm in Knoxville, and you missed the first part of the show. The Franklin Hill comes from, it's like a community in Knoxville, and I'd never heard of it, even though I grew up in Knoxville. But when we used to upload photographs to Facebook, when we first moved to Knoxville, it always automatically tagged them with the name Franklin Hill, which we looked on a map and finally found that it's across the interstate from us. So I'm not sure why it tagged us as being in Franklin Hill, but we liked the name and just used it for our business.
That's right. That was a happy coincidence because it's a beautiful name.
Yeah, I mean, sometime I wished I would have worked something. I mean, I hate to change it now because I've got so much tied up from a branding standpoint in the name, but I wished it had, something that more had a connotation of vintage or antique, just because that's 95% of what I sell. I mean, we occasionally sell other things, but most of what we sell falls under the vintage and antique umbrella. But the name, I like the name, and it's, and at least now we've had it so long, it just,
it's a name brand.
It's what we're sticking with. So.
Right.
I mean, we did take so if you look at our jams and jellies, we did call those Franklin Hill Farms. So we just,
how cool. I can't see it. It's so small.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So the Amish make it for you and then you slap your label on it?
Yeah, well, they label it we found a private label place that's in Amish country, and they make it all, and we worked with them to design the label, and so they do everything for us, and then just ship it to us, and then we sell it out of our antique malls and a little bit online. So, and we also started doing some festivals as well, like just like craft shows or whatever, and so those have been kind of a little bit of a new niche for us.
And you see, that's why it's good that you didn't pigeonhole yourself into something just vintage or just antique, because you see, the name Franklin Hill lends itself to jelly.
Yeah, and and it's funny, we came up with the idea because, I mean, being here real close to Gatlinburg and Sevierville and all the tourist places up there, every place you would go into would always have their own brand of, pickles and sauces and jellies and preserves. And, I thought, nobody's doing that in any of the antique malls where we were. I bet there would be an audience for that. And so, just started doing some research and reached out to a couple of companies, settled on the one. And I mean, it's really been a good kind of side hustle for us, just another stream of revenue coming in. So
Harry's saying what I was thinking too. I didn't know there were Amish in Tennessee.
Actually there are, but we have them made in Pennsylvania. So, they're in the heart of Amish country. But
so
there's some pretty big Amish communities in Middle Tennessee. Not so much here in East Tennessee, but there's some quite a few Amish populations over in Middle Tennessee. You'll see the horses and buggies. When we used to live in the Nashville area, south of Nashville, there were quite, you'd see the horse and buggies going down the road quite often. So.
Oh. All right. Well, we're at the 7:00 hour, and time flies when you're having fun. Thank you, Steward, for sharing what you know and giving us tips. Oh, I learned so much. I hope everybody who watched did too. And yay!
Yeah, I appreciate everybody who stopped by and hope everyone enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it. I really appreciate you asking me to be on. And hey, anytime, I'd be glad to come on again. So.
Oh, thank you, Steward. Awesome. All right. Well, it's time to say goodbye. Thanks again. Thanks for everybody who's going to come in later and watch. And we'll see you. Happy sales. Bye.
Everyone have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks for coming, everybody.